March 8, 2014. A clear, moonlit night at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. 239 souls board a state-of-the-art Boeing 777, bound for Beijing. It is supposed to be a routine red-eye flight. The atmosphere in the cabin is calm, passengers are settling in, pillows are being adjusted, and the hum of the twin engines provides a comforting white noise. At 1:19 a.m., a voice from the cockpit crackles over the radio with a final, chillingly calm message: "Good night, Malaysian 370. Seconds later, the transponder is manually switched off. The massive aircraft vanishes from civilian radar. It doesn't crash, at least not yet. It doesn't send a distress signal. It simply becomes a ghost. For 10 years, the world has asked the same question: how does a 200-foot-long machine carrying hundreds of people simply evaporate into thin air? Tonight, we peel back the layers of the greatest aviation mystery in human history. This isn't just a search for wreckage, it is a descent into a labyrinth of secrets, shadows, and the terrifying possibility that someone on board knew exactly what they were doing. The takeoff was textbook. Flight MH370 reached its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet, tracking northeast over the Gulf of Thailand. There were no mechanical warnings, no erratic movements, and no signs of a struggle. But as the plane approached the border between Malaysian and Vietnamese airspace, something shifted in the darkness. To understand the scale of this disappearance, you have to understand the transition point known as Igari. This is the handoff between air traffic controllers. It is a moment of vulnerability. Just as the plane was supposed to check in with Ho Chi Minh City, the lights went out. Not the physical lights in the cabin, but the electronic digital signature of the aircraft. By turning off the transponder, whoever was at the controls made the plane invisible to secondary radar. MH370 was no longer an identified flight, it was a silent, looming shadow. While civilian controllers scrambled to understand why the flight had dropped off their screens, military radar was picking up a far more disturbing narrative. The aircraft hadn't plummeted into the sea. Instead, it had performed a sharp, aggressive left turn back toward the Malay Peninsula. This wasn't a slow drift caused by a technical failure. It was a calculated, high-speed maneuver. The plane flew back across Malaysia, skirting the edge of international borders to avoid detection, before turning again and heading into the vast, empty corridor of the southern Indian Ocean. For 7 long hours, while the families of the passengers slept or waited at the arrival gate in Beijing, the plane continued to fly. It wasn't talking to anyone, but it was still breathing. A satellite high above the Earth recorded 7 automated pings from the aircraft's data link. These electronic handshakes didn't provide a location, but they provided a distance. They traced a lonely arc into the most remote waters on the planet, a place where the ocean floor is as jagged and unknown as the surface of the moon. The search that followed was the largest and most expensive in history, covering thousands of square miles of churning, deep blue water. Ships equipped with advanced sonar scanned the depths, looking for a debris field that never appeared. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. The silence was deafening. If you're finding this deep dive into the shadow files gripping, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. We are dedicated to uncovering the world's most enduring mysteries, and your support helps us keep the search for the truth alive. The first physical evidence didn't come from the bottom of the sea, but from the shores of Africa and the islands of the Indian Ocean. A jagged piece of metal, known as a flaperon, washed up on Réunion Island in 2015. Experts confirmed it belonged to MH370. Since then, dozens of fragments have emerged: shards of a wing, pieces of an engine cowling, interior cabin panels. These broken relics tell a grim story. Analysts suggest that the way the flaperon was damaged indicates it wasn't deployed for a controlled water landing. It was likely ripped from the aircraft during a high-speed, catastrophic spiral. The plane didn't glide, it fell. But the mystery of why it was there in the first place only deepened. This brings us to the most controversial and chilling aspect of the case: the theories. In the absence of the black boxes, the world has been forced to speculate on what happened in that cockpit during the silent hours. The first theory focuses on a massive mechanical failure. A sudden decompression or an electrical fire could have knocked out the crew and passengers, turning the Boeing 777 into a ghost plane that flew on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. Proponents of this theory point to the Helios Airways disaster as a precedent. However, critics argue that a fire or decompression doesn't explain the complex, manual turns made immediately after the transponder was cut. Those turns suggest intent. They suggest a mind behind the controls. This leads to the darkest theory: pilot suicide or mass murder. Captain Zahri Ahmad Shah was a veteran pilot with an impeccable record, but investigators found something haunting on his home flight simulator. Weeks before the disappearance, he had flown a simulated path into the southern Indian Ocean, strikingly similar to the one MH370 is believed to have taken. Was this a rehearsal for a final, tragic act? Some believe he locked the co-pilot out of the cockpit, depressurized the cabin to incapacitate everyone on board, and then flew into the abyss. There is no motive, no suicide note, and his family remains steadfast in his innocence, but the digital footprints on his simulator remain a smoking gun that many cannot ignore. Other theories venture into the realm of the cinematic. Some suggest a remote hijack, claiming that hackers used the plane's entertainment system to seize control of the flight's computer. Others point to the possibility of a secret cargo or high-profile passengers that made the plane a target for a state-sponsored disappearance. There are even those who believe the plane was accidentally shot down during a military exercise and that the subsequent search was a massive cover-up to hide the truth. While these theories lack hard evidence, the sheer lack of answers provides a fertile ground for them to grow. As we stand over a decade later, the Indian Ocean holds its secrets tight. The families of the 239 victims are left in a state of perpetual grief, caught between the hope of a breakthrough and the crushing weight of the unknown. New technology, including underwater drones and advanced ocean current modeling, continues to refine the search area. There is talk of a new search, a final attempt to find the main wreckage and the black boxes that hold the final minutes of data. Until those boxes are found, MH370 remains a ghost story, a reminder of how small we are in the face of the vast, uncaring wilderness of our own world. The story of Flight 370 is more than a technical puzzle, it is a haunting testament to the limits of human knowledge. We live in an age of total surveillance, where every movement is tracked and every word is recorded, yet a giant of the skies managed to slip through the cracks of reality. If you have your own theory or believe we missed a crucial piece of the puzzle, leave a comment below. We read every one of them. Thank you for joining us in the shadows today. If you enjoyed this investigation, please like the video and share it with someone who loves a good mystery. For more cases that defy explanation, stay tuned to Shadow Files. Good night, and stay vigilant.